You're listening to part 2 of the interview with Zombie Battleground game director Roy Shapira. How do the zombie abilities work?
So when do entry effects trigger? A lot of zombies have these entry effects. There are a few ways for zombies to enter the field. You've got reanimate in the life faction, so like, do entry effects trigger in those cases, or is it just when you play the card?
Right. The entry effect is usually triggered once you actually play it manually from the hand to the to play. If you have like a summon, if you have a reanimate, if you have all those abilities, then once it reanimates with nothing in the ability or no entry ability. It will reanimate empty.
Right, that makes sense. I can see there would be a lot of weird edge cases if a zombie were to re-trigger its entry effect on like reanimation or something. It would get kind of weird. Okay, yeah. So entry effects happen when you play the card, and maybe there will be a few exceptions, but that's mostly how it works. Next on my list is when do rank buffs apply? Because with entry abilities, you could either have an entry effect happen first and then your rank buff happens, and maybe that could change the state of the board in between. So it's like...
That's a pretty good question. Rank buffs usually apply to cards that are already on the board. Once you play the card, it looks for cards for battle frames on the in play, affects the rank buff, and then it goes into play and does the entry effect. So if its entry effect is bring another card in, the new card doesn't get the effect.
Okay, yeah. So that actually, yeah. I was looking at Squall. Like, Squall is an exciting card. I think it's really cool. It pulls these other cards out of your hand. But if it can't trigger the entry effect, that definitely gives you a smaller set of cards that you want to hit with it. That'd be pretty intense. Yeah, a little bit too much for one card to do. So there was the item card revealed Bat, and it says that it distracts a zombie. Let me actually read the text here. It says, yeah, 2 damage to a zombie and distract it. I'm kind of a stickler for wording, and so there's the difference between abilities and zombie types, where like you've got stuff like guard, you've got stuff like blitz, you've got destroy that are abilities that a zombie can have, and then there's types that are feral and heavy and walker. And so my question was whether distract would interact with types at all.
That's a fantastic question. Distract is kind of like an attack. So imagine that you have an attack, and the attack makes someone dizzy. Let's go to a regular situation when you have like this bodyguard, and he's blocking the way into the club. You whack it over the head. What does it matter how big it is? You just walk around him, right? It's exactly the same thing. So if you have this big zombie and you whack it with the distract, and so his ability heavy doesn't work anymore. You can just go around him, so it doesn't work. On the flip side, guard as a specific ability, it absorbs your first attack. So if you whack guard, the guard disappears, but the zombie itself is unaffected. Exactly. Guard blocks this entire attack. So
Interesting.
Yeah, so guard is pretty powerful. That's why air zombies are fairly weaker than the rest of them because of the guard.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So if you put a air let's say officer with a toxic officer, the toxic officer will be stronger every time.
Right. Just in terms of like their raw stats and yeah,
exactly.
Cool. Okay. Next on my list, we've seen a few cards revealed with the Blitz ability on them. We've seen Burst, I think is going to have Blitz, and Assassin in Toxic. Burst is in Fire. And additionally, the Fire faction rank buffs give Blitz. And so Blitz lets you attack the turn that you play a zombie, but not the enemy overlord. But then there's also the type Feral, which does let you attack an enemy overlord. And so next question is, if a zombie somehow has both Blitz and Feral, either like you give it via the Fire faction, or some of the cards we've seen revealed right now show that they're Feral and have Blitz, so I wasn't clear on that. But if one has both Feral and Blitz, which one takes precedence? Can it attack the Overlord or not?
Well, if it has Feral, you shouldn't get Blitz, because Feral is like the big brother of Blitz. It's kind of like an upgraded Blitz. Blitz can give you the ability to attack zombies, and Feral gives you the ability to attack zombies and the Overlord. So if you have Feral, Blitz doesn't take any effect.
Okay, yeah. And in the fire faction, I imagine that won't be too uncommon because you've got a lot of feral zombies just at base, and then the fire faction rank buffs give blitz, so you'll be giving your feral
Right.
zombies blitz left and
Yeah,
right. But
but you'll have to consider that when you use them and use the rank ability on walkers and get them.
right, yeah,
The
you
idea
strategize.
of the rank buff, exactly. The idea of the rank buff is to get your feral zombie a little like put a pepper in their butts to get them to move on, kind of thing.
Next, so we've got this card Vortex, which is one of
Oh,
the
that's
water generals.
yeah. This one is interesting. Yeah.
So, and his text says on entry he replaces all ally water zombies in play with stronger ones. And so that wording is just super intriguing. Like, what is a stronger water zombie?
So basically, the idea of this one is the maximum number of cards you have in play that he can affect is 5. Otherwise, he doesn't have any place to land on.
Right, because there's a
So when
six zombie limit on the board.
is the limit exactly? So if you land and you have 5 other zombies, it gets all these zombies back into the graveyard, and instead of them, he summons 5 cards with at least 1 goo cost more than the ones that he sent to the graveyard. And when I say at least, is if you don't have any one of that goo cost, he will bring another one with which a bit higher goo cost. So, for example, if you had like a bunch of cards like in a goo cost 2, 2, 2, and let's say 3 and 4, then you scrap all of them, put them into the graveyard, and instead of that, he will try to find a 3, 3, 3, then a 4 and a 5. And if you don't have a 3, then he would bring a 4, and you don't have a 4, he would bring a 5, and so on and so forth. Now, right now, this card is in balance phase. I am considering to have it instead of taking these cards from your board as it does right now, he will take it from the library. But it is a big question because it might get it to be too powerful.
Yeah, that would be an
Uh,
interesting like deck building challenge. Is you have some low cost water zombies you want to play on the board to upgrade with Vortex, but then you want to have like just maximum cost water zombies in your deck left over in your
ex-
horde.
exactly. But on the other hand, if you're unlucky, you have unlucky
Right,
hand.
if you draw them in the wrong order.
If you draw them in the wrong order and you drop it and you like you have nothing to show for it and you can't even upgrade any of them. So right now it's in balance. It's still in testing. It's one of the newer cards that we just put into the alpha, and we'll see how it goes. It's a fairly interesting one. I hope that it will play just right as I hoped. It's kind of like those cards that you build a deck around. So
Yeah,
it's going to be
definitely.
an interesting one, just like Godzilla and Gargantua.
You
Kind
could
of,
say that this
yeah.
water general's effect is pretty splashy.
Well, I think Tsunami takes on the splashy side, but yes.
Yeah. All right. Next on my list. So there's a card in the life faction called Blight. And what Blight does is after a delay of a few turns, it says 3 right now, you'll place 2 4/4 copies of it into play and then destroy the original Blight. And so
Yep.
what I was interested in was like, so you play your Blight, you put your heavy zombies around it to protect it so your opponent doesn't kill it, and then it eventually splits, and you've got your 2 4/4 Blights. After a delay of 3 more turns, will you have 4 Blights?
Nope.
Too bad.
Basically, think about it. Think about it this way: Blight is basically like a pod. It has like these weird plant zombies inside of it. And once it hatches, you'll have 2 plant zombies roaming, and they will be completely different than the original. They will have no abilities. It's just like stats.
I see. Okay.
Does, does that make sense? They
Yeah,
will
yeah.
be blight. They will be called blight, but they will be kind of like a blight minion or something. But this is a card still in balance phase, so we'll see how it goes.
Cool, cool. So next, there's this one card that I think the community sort of latched onto in early alpha. One of the like big content producers made a whole video about it. It was called Sapper, also in the life faction. And Sapper was this like 4 goo 2/4, and whenever he attacks, the text says restore however much damage he deals to his defense. But in the game, it was actually like adding it on top. And so there were 1.5 Pint made this video where he put all these buffs, like he put chainsaws on Blight, he would play puffers to buff its attack, and he would like get this gigantic sapper that was like 2099 in stats.
That's awesome. Yeah.
and so like, is that how that works?
Actually, the heal or restore ability, what it does, it just restores the defense up to its original maximum. So unless you buffed its defense and the maximum was raised, he will only go to this original 4 rather than unlimited. It was just a silly bug that we it's actually kind of funny. It was always on the to-do list, and so it kept getting bumped, and we said yeah, we have to fix Sapper, but we have so many other things that we need to take care of. We need to make sure that this is working, that it is working, and so on. Version 1.4 was right before PvP, so we're still very busy with trying to get PvP working. Hopefully, PvP is going to get in the next version. So, crossing fingers, we'll start fighting one another, which is going to be pretty awesome.
You heard it here first.
But yeah, we are super excited to get PvP going. So other things kind of got down to lower priority, and obviously as a restore ability, it's supposed to bump it up to maximum.
Although if you gave Sapper like a super serum or buffed his health with other life zombies, then you could make him stick around for a while.
Absolutely. But then you get a toxic guy and he will just destroy it.
Yep.
So there's always an answer if you kind of remember all the abilities and all the things and so on.
I like all the different kinds of counterplay there is. I was a little, so early on Sapper's stats, I think he was a 4-goo 2-4, and right now on the website he's showing up as a 5-goo 1-4. So he got hit by the Nerf bat a little hard, and I thought that was kind of funny.
It might be too hard. He might get some of his stats back, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely.
You just heard an interview with Zombie Battleground game director Roy Shapira. If you want to know more about Zombie Battleground, or you want to back the project and get early access, then check out the website at loom.games. You can find some great conversation happening on the official Zombie Battleground Discord. And if you're on Twitter, we're quite active over there, at ZBCardGame, and our company account at Loom Network. Of course, you can find all of these links below. Stay tuned for part 3 of this interview. My name is Robert, your content and community manager. Until next time, zombie on.